Hey guys, and welcome back to my channel. So I'm doing a very exciting video because I know a lot of you are either starting your first year of college within the next week or two if you haven't started already, or you're in your last few years of high school and you really just want to know, like, what is this thing called college? How do I apply to it? What are the steps? What happens once you get there? So I wanted to do this college advice video. So I told you guys to send me questions on Snapchat and Twitter, so I'm going to answer them now. And I have a little something special that'll be at the end of this video, which I will get into later. So if you want to hear about college and my experience and some things I would tell you guys to keep in mind or look out for, then stay tuned. Okay, so if I don't answer your question in this video, it's not because I'm ignoring you or anything like that. It's just a lot of you ask the same questions, you know, dorming, applying, financial aid, partying. That seems to be like the theme throughout all the questions. So I figured, I'll just answer the questions like once because it gets redundant after that. But, and some of you ask very specific questions, so I figured I'll just go back to your Snap and answer you directly. But the very first question, which I got a lot, is where did you go to college? I'm graduating this year, so I've got a lot of questions. And the one right after that says, what did you major in and what classes did you have to take? I went to St. John's University in Queens, New York. I majored in public relations, and going after a public relations degree, I had to take a lot of public relations classes, marketing, advertising. St. John's is a Catholic school, so I had to take a lot of theology classes, philosophy classes, and then basic classes like English, math, science, which I wanted to get out of the way right away. Would you recommend community and transfer, balancing work, social life, and school? I would absolutely recommend community colleges. I feel like they get looked down upon. I know at least here in New York, when I was in high school, people called community colleges 13th and 14th grade because, you graduate from high school in the 12th grade, and people make it seem like, going to a community college is just going to 2 more years of high school, which is not true whatsoever. First of all, for anyone who doesn't know what community colleges are usually where you go to get your associate's degree. Those are usually just 2-year schools. Some careers that people go into only require a associate's degree, so community college is really all that you need. But as far as the question says, community and then transferring, what a lot of people do is they'll go to a community college, get their associates after 2 years, and then transfer to a 4-year school, because most of the classes that you take at your community college will transfer to the 4-year school, and then you'll just have to do another 2 years, and then you can get your bachelor's degree. One reason why I say I would absolutely recommend community colleges is because they're a lot cheaper. What you're learning those 2 years in your community college is what you'll be learning the first 2 years at your 4-year college at a much cheaper price, and they can transfer over. I know a lot of people who went to community colleges did not have to pay for really anything because of the way their financial aid was set up, and then they just transferred to a 4-year school and only had to pay for 2 years for their 4-year degree. You still get your bachelor's once you transfer with your community degree. But you're just paying a whole lot less money. So I would absolutely recommend that if you can't afford a 4-year school right out, or you can't get into a 4-year school, that you go to a community college, get those 2 years out of the way, and then transfer to a 4-year school. I was wondering, when did you start visiting colleges / did you visit colleges? I did visit colleges, and I started visiting them the beginning of my junior year of high school. Yeah, because I started looking for colleges when I was a sophomore in high school. So I didn't start visiting them until my junior year of high school. And a lot of high schools will have open houses where colleges will come to you. So I went to that first, I believe, when I was a junior in high school. And then after meeting the colleges, even though I knew which ones I wanted to apply to, that's when I started visiting them in my junior year, because that's really when you should just start focusing on what these schools are looking for. But I'm pretty sure there's a question that gets further into that. So that's when I started visiting. I'm starting grade 10 Monday. I already have an idea of where I want to go to college. Should I start submitting applications throughout this year, or should I wait until grade 11 or 12? That's great that you're already on top of it and know where you want to apply to go to school. However, unless you're ready to graduate this year, like at the end of your 10th grade, then don't send applications. You send applications the year that you know you're going to be graduating. If you were a student who was graduating early at the end of 10th grade, at the end of your junior year, then at the beginning of that year is when you should start sending your applications. So if you're going to graduate as a senior in your 12th grade of high school, that's when you should start sending your applications. Actually, let me just get a little further into, sending off applications. You should start taking your SATs, even though I've heard that they're getting rid of the SATs. I don't know if they've started yet, but if they have not and you have to take your SATs, you should start taking your SATs your junior year of high school, because you might have to take that thing more than once. You might not want to send the scores that you get the very first time that you take your SATs off to your college. So you should start taking your SATs the beginning of your junior year of high school. If you don't like it, you can take it again the second half of your junior year of high school. And then if you don't like that score, you can take it again at the beginning of your senior year of high school. If you are going to graduate, like as expected as a senior in high school, you should start sending the applications to colleges at the beginning of your senior year of high school. Most colleges have a deadline of November 15th, I believe. I believe that's when most schools have like a cutoff date of when you can send off applications. However, that's why it's very important for you to do the research on the schools that you want to apply to, because not every school is the same. Not every school even has the same type of admissions process. I know St. John's, they're a rolling school, so it's not really a deadline. It's just, they'll just keep taking students until they have no more space to take students. So you can send an application in October of this year, you can send an application in April of 2018, and if they have room, they're still going to take you. But I know a lot of schools, their deadline is somewhere in November. I want to say November 15th, it's somewhere around there. But there are some schools who have early admissions. Is it early admissions? Where you apply, I believe, in like September or something like that. So that's why it's very important for you to know exactly what these schools require. Do they require an SAT? Because not every school requires an SAT. If they do require an SAT, what's the score that they require? Some schools have very high expectations. Some schools, it's just like, did you take it? Like, did you get points for writing your name on the SAT? So that's what you have to look into. Also, most schools have a date that you have to, if you do get accepted, they have a date that you have to accept your acceptance by, which I feel is May 1st, somewhere around there. It's literally called like acceptance day, where, most people send in like, yes, I'm going to be going to your school in the fall. What are some things we should know before choosing to live on dorms? One thing you should know before you choose to live that dorm life is if the dorm life is for you, because it's not for everybody, okay? Don't look at it as just a chance that, I can get away from my parents, I have this, new freedom, I can do whatever I want, because it's not that easy, okay? Living that campus life can get very overwhelming very quickly, and you're on your own. No one's babying you, no one's taking care of you, no one's making anything for you, no one's fixing anything for you, no one's cleaning anything for you. So if you know that, you can't really take care of yourself, then dorming may not be for you. And one thing that I have to stress, do not lie on the survey that they will send you if you choose to live in the dorms. Most schools will send, compatibility surveys to see how they should room students who are going to live in the dorms. So if you know that you're not okay with your roommate coming in at 5 o'clock in the morning thinking she's about to have a party, don't call yourself a night owl on the survey. If you know that you can't deal with your roommate wearing the same panties for a week, don't say that cleanliness is not a problem for you, because they'll put you with someone who doesn't mind being dirty. They'll put you with someone who really does stay up all night, and they'll have the lights on, they'll have TVs on, they'll be blasting music, they'll have their friends in and out. So be honest. If you know that you need a tight room to be able to study and survive throughout that, then say that. There's nothing wrong with it. It doesn't make you uncool. It doesn't, don't try to fit in. Be honest, because the worst thing that's going to happen is you're going to get put in with someone completely different from you that you have to live with and you're paying to live with for a whole year. Living with random roommate in first apartment, how do I get to know them without being awkward? You really just have to put yourself out there, and that's with college in general. If you are a shy person, college is really the time for you to get the chance to step out of that bubble. I wouldn't say I'm a shy person. obviously, but I am a person who is more to myself. You know, I just like sit back and like peep stuff. So but when I was in college, like I had no problem, you know, going up to someone and saying, you know, hey, how are you, what's up? Same thing when I was working in retail. I was the first person that moved in to my suite, and then Maddie, I told a story about her here on YouTube. She moved in after me. You know, I walked over, I knocked on her door. I was like, hey, I'm Shanine. She was like, hi, I'm Maddie. And we just started talking. You know, she was an out-of-state student, so I asked her, you know, like, what is it like in California? You know, like, what do you like to do? Blah, 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 blah. And just, you know, talk with each other and see if this is someone that you can at least be cordial with, because you don't have to be friends. You don't have to be friends with your roommate. You just have to get to a point where you can coexist in the same space peacefully. And it would be better, you know, if you could be friends, because in college you shouldn't go anywhere without someone knowing where you're going. You know, class, okay, you don't have to inform everyone, hey, I'm going to, you know, English 101. But if you're going to parties, if you're going on a date, someone should always know where you are. Because like I said, no one's babying you. Campus security is not going to say, okay, I'm here to make sure you get home safely from that party. So you should be able to tell your roommate, you know, like, I'm going to this house party, you know, I've met this guy on Tinder, we're going on a date. Like, that's the level that you should be at with your roommate, and you're not going to get there unless you just get to know them. And also keep in mind, you know, not everything has to be an issue. Not everything has to be some type of drama. I'm not saying to let anyone walk over you, because that's what I did when I was living on campus, and it just got to a point where everything just blew up. So don't let anyone walk all over you. If you're in an uncomfortable situation, like, don't feel like you're a snitch if you report something, or if you know, have to go to your RA or campus security, because that's another thing. You can get caught up with the people that you live with. Quick story. When I was living at St. John's, I lived in a suite that had 6 people, but I only lived with one other person. Like, there were 3 bedrooms and 2 people in each bedroom. So one day I'm sleeping and I hear boom, boom, boom on the door, and I wake up out of my sleep like, what is that? And then I hear it again, it's boom, boom, boom. And then I hear, if you don't open the door, I'm coming in. So I was like, what the hell is going on? So I get up out of my bed, open the door to my bedroom, and then go open the suite door, and I see the RA standing on the other side. So I was like, hey, and she goes, what's going on? So I was like, what do you mean, what's going on? And she goes, really? So you don't smell that? I kid you guys not, I didn't smell anything until she said that. And she said that and I was like, bro, when I say the suite mates next to me in the next room were smoking that good stuff, I mean, I wouldn't know, because I'm not about that smoke life, but you could, when I say that thing slaps you in the face with the smell, not only did it slap you in the face, but like, I actually started looking around, because like I said, I was sleeping and I was still like trying to get out of the whole, you know, sleep phase. I started looking around the suite. That whole thing was covered in smoke, and I was just like, oh hell. Because, well, how the story went, so I was like, look, I ain't got nothing to do with that. I was sleeping. So she was like, let me see your room. So I was like, okay. I take her into my room. There was nothing in my room, because like I said, I was sleeping. And then she goes to my suite mates, who were the ones that were smoking next door. Boom, boom, boom on their door. I was like, y'all didn't hear her banging that door down a few seconds ago? But they did have music playing as well. So I just hear like the music cut off, and then you just hear like scrambling. Like, you can clearly tell that they're trying to hide whatever it is that they have in there. And she's like, if you don't open it, I'm opening the door. And then the door opens, and just a whole wall of smoke comes out of their room. And she's like, I hope you guys know how much trouble you can get in, blah, 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 blah. Like, I closed my door, because I'm thinking like, that has nothing to do with me. Like, that's not my problem. But then a few seconds later, I hear another boom, boom, boom on my door, and I open it, and she's like, I want you to know that I could have written you up as well, because you knew what they were doing in here and you didn't say anything about it. And I was like, hold up. First of all, I don't like you, so I'm gonna need you to fix your tone, because I don't like the way that you're speaking to me. But I was like, I was sleeping. I mean, I clearly, like, even when she walked back into my room, it was still in the dark because I was sleeping. It's not my responsibility. I didn't sign up to be anybody's mama. I didn't sign up to be anybody's keeper. So it wasn't my responsibility to report them. Even if I did know what they were doing, I wouldn't have reported them anyway. But that's what I'm saying. Like, when you're living in a room with, in a suite with other people, what they do can affect you, because here she is telling me like she could write me up for something that I wasn't doing. Like, you could clearly see that I wasn't smoking with them. So don't leave yourselves in situations where you're going to be uncomfortable. Don't leave yourself in situations where you could get in trouble as well, because I told the story with my roommate and the friend that she kept bringing over, and that friend brought other friends who made me feel uncomfortable in the place that I was living in, and I didn't say anything. So, you know, like, don't do that. You know, don't let people walk all over you. Don't, you know, be uncomfortable in a place that you're paying to live in. But what I'm trying to say is, like, don't start arguments over petty little things. You know, if the light isn't turned off by the time that you want, like, don't start an argument over it, and don't come at them in a petty situation. You're both adults. Once you're living on campus, you're an adult, all right? You should be able to take care of yourself. Know how to communicate with your roommate so that situations don't get to the point where things boil over, or you get to the point where you hate that person, you can't stand the sight of them. That was a long answer to that question, but, you know, yeah. How would you deal with a bad/messy roommate, or a roommate you don't get along with? I feel like I just kind of answered that in the last one, and I also answered how you should not deal with it in the story time that I told about my roommate situation. I did tell that a while ago, so I don't know how many of you are new and haven't seen that, but I will leave it here. You know, my college roommate's extra roommate from hell story. Basically, you know, I had a roommate, and she was just doing things that I wasn't really here for, and not even her specifically, but she was just making the living situation uncomfortable for me, because she kept bringing someone around that she knew I didn't like, and that person that I didn't like, that she kept bringing, kept doing things that I didn't like, and I just kept letting it go and letting it go and letting it go, and then I just blew up one day. Like, I'm that person that I just let things like build and build and build, and then I blow up, and it got very uncomfortable. We stopped speaking for, I want to say, like 2 months. You know, you're living in a room with someone who's literally sleeping like 3 feet away from you, and you're trying not to make eye contact because you're not speaking and you don't want the other person to see you looking at them, you know. So I don't do any of that, okay? If you're living with someone who is messy or someone that you don't like, one, I know that you can make like roommate agreements where you can make rules like, you know, we won't have guests over at this time. It's my responsibility to take out the garbage, but it's your responsibility to clean the bathroom. Like, that's something that you probably want to set as soon as you move in, so that things don't get bad first and then you have to do that. Like, you know, right away, let it be known, like, this is how living together is going to go. As far as living with someone that you don't like, don't be petty. I'm not gonna lie, when she would bring the person over that I didn't like, I said petty things, but I was like, you know what, I pay to live here. She doesn't. If she doesn't want to hear my petty mouth, go home, if she had one. And also another thing is, talk to your RA. Sometimes RAs will sit two roommates who are not getting along together. She'll have them sit down together, have them try to talk it out, see if they can, you know, kind of manage this living situation. And, you know, worst case scenario, sometimes you have to move rooms. I don't know how easy it is for each college as far as, you know, being able to transfer suites and dorms and stuff like that, because when you're dorming, it's not the same price for everybody. You can be in a room with 3 other people, 4 altogether. You can be in a room with 2 other people. You can be in a room with 1 other person, or you can be in a room completely by yourself. However, the room by yourself is going to cost you a whole lot more. I was living in a room with just 1 other person, and I want to say that was like $14,000, I think. I mean, like, altogether, like room and board altogether was like $14,000. I think if you were living by yourself, it would have been like $17,000 altogether. So it can be harder transferring rooms, because that might mean you'll either have to put out more money or you'll owe less money. So that can be harder to fix out. So if you can, you know, make things work with the person that you don't like, or, you know, find mature ways of letting someone know, you know, like, you're a little messy, you know, can you just keep, you know, just like slide it under your bed if you don't want to do your laundry every day, you know, the bathroom is dirty, can you just like get your hair out of the little, what do you call that, the bottom of the tub because my brain is on fart mode. Should you be cautious when moving away? Is it better to have a dorm for yourself or share and make friends with new people? You should be cautious moving away, and that's not just in college, that's anywhere that you're going to. It's a new environment, you know, it's a new way of living, so you should absolutely be cautious, especially in college, because most of the time you are going to live with people that you don't know. Like, you know how your family operates, but you don't know how your roommate operates. You don't know if she steals, so you should absolutely be cautious of your surroundings in college. Is it better to have a room by yourself? If I was willing to put out the money to live by myself, I probably would have lived by myself. Now, in a situation at St. John's, you can still have a room to yourself but be in a suite with other people, and that's still a way to make friends. Like, you don't have to have someone in your room with you to make friends, and you don't even have to dorm in college to make friends. But I know some people ask questions on that, so I'll get to that later. But yeah, if I had had the option, I would have lived in a room by myself, and always be cautious. What and what not to bring: clothes, cold weather stuff, because I'm from Texas and I'm moving to New York. Don't bring your entire house, okay? Because I was living at, how many times am I gonna say St. John's in this video? But St. John's is said to have really big dorm areas, and I was living in a room with just one other person. When I say I've seen hotel rooms bigger than the bedroom that you have to share at St. John's, especially if you start getting into like smaller sections, like, you know, 4 people living into a room, 3 people. So don't think like you can pack your whole house into your suitcase and bring it with you. Pack accordingly. If you're going for the fall semester, bring fall clothing, you know, maybe 1 coat, because by the time the fall semester is over, it'll be December. But you know, bring clothing for the fall, and then when you go home for winter break, bring that clothing back with you, and then bring back, you know, some little winter clothing, because by the time you come back it'll still be winter. But then bring, you know, clothes for the spring, as far as clothes go. I believe you get to talk to your roommate beforehand. I didn't talk to my roommate before we moved in. Like, I met her once we moved in, but some schools will allow you, well, not will allow you, they'll let you know who you're rooming with beforehand. Talk to them, let them know, okay, you bring a fridge and we'll share it, and I'll bring a microwave and we'll share it. You know, you bring this for the bathroom and I'll bring this for the kitchen. You don't need 2 of everything, unless things go left when you're living with each other, and you know, you don't want that person touching your stuff. But again, that's why you should make it work with your roommate, because you don't have the space for any of that stuff in your room. You don't have the space for 2 fridges. You don't have, you know, the space in the bathroom to have your rug and to have their rug. You don't need all of that. Sometimes it is a little bit better if you just wait until you get to campus to see what your room is like for things like the bathroom and the kitchen and other living situations. When I went, I brought clothing, and enough clothing that would fit in my closet, because the closets are not that big. I brought bedding for my bed. You only need like maybe 2 blankets and like 2 sets of sheets, and just do laundry, fam. Like, just clean it. It works the same. School supplies, obviously. As far as food goes, in college, you're gonna be eating a lot of, you know, like, what can I microwave? Like, what can I keep not in the fridge and it won't spoil not being in the fridge? And that's mostly what you'll be eating when you're living in college. My bad, I forgot for a second that we were talking about things that you should and should not bring. Things that you should not bring: don't bring candles to campus. I know a lot of schools don't even allow you to bring candles. If you get caught, you know, bringing a candle, like, you'll get in trouble. Don't bring like hazardous things to campus. As far as TVs go, again, that's why you should, you know, talk to your roommate beforehand, see if, you know, like, you guys are okay just like sharing a TV. Granted, you're not both gonna want to watch the same things all the time. If you do, great. I ended up loving watching Empire with my roommate. But it does help, because you don't want 2 TVs working at the same time when you're trying to watch something. Like, you don't want to hear what they're watching. I would suggest, if you have, you know, like the cable thing at home, to know what your password is so you can just watch TV on your computer. That way you can just plug your headphones in and you don't have to bring your TV. I didn't bring a TV. Your girl managed just fine. Has Optimum. Just put that password in. I was watching Empire on my computer. Things you should not bring. Decorations. Try to keep it down. You know, I know you want to have like a pretty room, but again, the rooms are not that big, and I mean, for the most part, dorms are usually not that big. Like, I know what St. John's dorms look like. I know what Hofstra dorms look like because that's where my brother went. Adelphi, they're not the hugest of places. So, you know, I know you want to make it like pretty like you see on TV and, you know, on Pinterest or Tumblr, but just have a place to sleep. And when rooming together, is it that difficult? Is it hard to maintain your school life, work, and friendships? Because I'm going to college soon in Brooklyn, and is it hard to be away from home? Excuse me, I'm sorry. Rooming together, is it that difficult? It can be. It can get very difficult. All you gotta do is like search on YouTube like college roommate from hell, and hundreds of stories will pop up. But it doesn't have to be, is what I'm trying to get across here in this video. If you just nip that stuff in the bud right away, you know, let them know like, this is what I'll tolerate, this is what I will not tolerate. Another reason why you should be very honest in that survey, so you don't end up getting matched with someone completely different from you to begin with. What else did they say? Is it hard to maintain your school life, work, and friendships? Yes. All right, you'll have about 90 breakdowns a week when you're in college, because you'll be worrying about passing this test, you'll want to go party, and a lot of kids in college have to work. I was working 3 jobs at once when I was in college, and then I was working just the stadium job at Yankee Stadium. But if you know baseball, there could be like 14 days in a row when you're working, and I still had class, and I was doing internships at the same time. So it does get very hard to manage, but I know someone else asked that question, so I'll answer that later. And is it hard being away from home? It is. You know, usually, you know, home is where you've been for the last like 18 years. So you're comfortable, you're used to it. And now you're putting yourself in a situation where you don't know the people that you're living with, you don't know the area that you're around, and you have to like manage not only getting used to it, but how to survive in it. And it can be very overwhelming. So you are gonna miss home, but that's why you should, you know, keep an open line of communication with your parents, with your family, with high school friends, even though I talked to 3 people that I went to high school with. And if you can, you know, for me, my home was an hour away from St. John's. I went home all the time, like every 2 weeks, I would say I went home. But yeah, you're gonna miss home. How do you apply for financial aid your freshman year? You don't wait until your freshman year to apply for financial aid. If I recall, and it's been a minute since your girl has had to do any of this applying or filling stuff out, so if I don't have the dates completely right, you know, just bear with me. But I believe the form for financial aid opens up January 1st for like the next school year. So right now, if you're a senior in high school, you'll be able to apply for financial aid for the fall of 2018, January 1st of 2018. So you'll still be a senior in high school when you're filling out financial aid for the fall. And you'll just put like, you know, the schools that you applied to in your financial aid form and just go through the form. Yeah, I'm pretty sure that's how it works, because I remember like every, you know, New Year's Day, I would tell my dad like, okay, let's sit down, we have to fill this out together. But filling out the financial aid form, it's a little tricky, but it's really not that hard. You just need like your tax information and stuff like that. If you are filling out with a parent, you'll need your parent with you to fill it out. But you just go to fasfa.gov. I'll leave any, you know, helpful links, whatever, I will leave in the description box down below. But you just go to FAFSA, you know, you click that you're trying to fill out the financial aid form for the next school year, so the school year that you're trying to, you know, go to college. You'll fill that out. It'll ask, you know, the schools that you applied to. It'll ask for your income. It'll ask, you know, if you're on government assistance, any type of stuff like that. You just fill all of that out and hit send. And there's another thing that you have to fill out, I believe, at least for like New York. It's Fasfa. and something else. Again, they'll all be linked in the description box down below. But then, you know, you'll get accepted to the schools, and then your financial aid information will go to the schools, and then you'll get a financial aid package in the mail. It'll tell you, okay, the school is giving you this scholarship, it's giving you this grant, TAP. Thank you, Jesus Christ, I could not remember what it was. TAP is a New York State thing. It'll tell you you're getting this much in TAP. Don't expect that much from TAP. Every time I only got like $300 to $500, somewhere around there. And then it'll tell you, you know, like, this is how much loans your parents can take out. This is how much out-of-pocket money that you'll need. And that's another thing that I need people to pay attention to when they're looking into colleges. I feel like a lot of people, when they're looking at colleges, they only see, like, you know, St. John's $38,000 tuition, and they think that's all I need. No, that's just what the tuition is, okay? If you're gonna live on campus, look into what their room and board is, because room and board can be another $22,000. I believe right now for tuition and room and board at St. John's, it's $55,000 a year. And it doesn't just stop there. Like, people think, oh, okay, so I just need like $55,000. No, because colleges charge you for everything, okay? There's an activity fee, there's a technology fee, there's a breathing fee. You get charged for everything when you're on there. There's a health insurance fee. So I know a lot of people can stay on their parents' health insurance until they're, I believe, 26. So if you do have health insurance, like, that can be waived. Make sure you waive it, because the college isn't going to say, like, hey, you know, do you have health insurance? Like, you know, let's waive this. No, because they don't want you to realize that you're being charged for health insurance. So that's why you have to make sure you read everything. And if you have health insurance, to waive it. But you need to, when you're looking at these schools and looking at the prices and thinking of what your financial status is, you need to keep in mind that it's not just what you see there. It's not just that $20,000 tuition. It could be another, you know, $20,000 on top of that $20,000 if you're including room and board and, you know, fees and all that other stuff. Now, if you are commuting, it's a lot different. Really, what you have to worry about is the tuition and the fees that the schools charge. However, you also have to keep in mind the cost of getting there. You know, are you gonna live in an apartment close to campus? Are you going to commute by car, because gas will start running up? You'll have to pay to park your car on campus. Are you gonna take public transportation? That can get costly. I know for me, when I was commuting, I was taking the LIR. A ticket one way is $30. So it's like $33. So I was spending $66 a day that I was going to campus. So it does get costly, and that's all the things that you need to keep in mind when you're looking into these schools and trying to think, okay, do I have the budget for that? Because when I was living on campus, I was spending $4,000 to $5,000 a semester out of pocket. Like, that's without the grants, that's without the scholarships. I did have a full tuition scholarship, but that clearly does not cover room and board. So yeah, it gets costly, and I was not expecting that. I did not think that way when I was a freshman in high school. I just saw the, you know, like 38,000 whatever, and then it came in on the room and board and all of that stuff, and it gets very overwhelming. So if you prepare yourself beforehand, then you won't get shocked when you get slapped in the face with that $60,000 bill. Is it possible to get textbooks in PDF version? Because girl, I know my book voucher will not cover the cost of every book that I need. It is possible to get textbooks in PDF versions, but here's the thing with textbooks. Don't get textbooks until you're absolutely positively sure that you're gonna need that textbooks, because professors will send out, you know, emails before the semester even starts. This is the textbook, whatever, and never have you use the textbook. And now here you are with this $300 textbook, and when you go to sell it back to the school, they only want to give you $15 for it. And I'm not kidding. I had a $175 textbook that the school offered me $15 for. But another thing when it comes to textbooks, if you have to buy the textbook, one, rent your textbook. That will take the cost down tremendously. And besides renting, you can share a textbook. If you're taking a class with a friend, the two of you can share that textbook. See if you can find that textbook online. I was lucky a couple times when I was in college. I think I found 3 textbooks online. Like they were just, I mean, I'm pretty sure they were like legally uploaded that way, but I did find 3 textbooks for free online. But yeah, I mean, a lot of the times you really won't need the textbook, so make sure you need it before you go drop money on it. But yes, you can get the PDF versions as well. Shanine, I'm in my senior year and I have to start applying now or in the next 2 months. So if you have any advice to help me chill out, it would be great. I'm going into public relations as well. Quinn, congratulations, Quinn. You're gonna start applying in the next few months. I would definitely suggest looking at the applications of the schools before you start filling them out so that you don't make any mistakes and that you fully go into it knowing what you're doing. If you have the chance to actually visit the schools and sit down with an admissions counselor, I would definitely recommend doing that. They make the process they make you feel a whole lot better after talking to them, and sometimes, you know, they'll remember you once they get your application, and that is better in your favor. But like I said, for anyone who is not already a senior in high school, if you start that process much earlier, you look into your schools and you see, you know, is it the school for you? If you're looking for a party school like St. John's may not be for you. Actually, I know it's not for you because nothing ever happens at St. John's. So, you know, look into the schools. If you're looking for that type of life, you're looking for the rager parties, you know, make sure that you've looked into it and that's the school where you're gonna get it. If you're looking for the school where, you know, not much happens, St. John's might be great for you, but make sure you're looking into it and make sure that's the school for you. Make sure you've got things out of the way like your SATs and your transcripts, like your GPA. Like make sure your GPA meets the requirements of the school that you want to go into. And once you have all of that done, like, you know, I know that my financial aid will be somewhere good with this. You know, I won't be $12,000 out of pocket. I won't have to take out $80,000 in loans. Once you know all that stuff, you know your SATs are good, you know your GPA is where you want to be, like filling out the actual application process, it'll still be nerve-wracking, but you should be fine as far as sending it out. And as far as applying and sending it to the school, you should probably be good too. I mean, if it's not schools like, you know, Yale, Harvard, whatever, like I see people who freak out like, oh my god, I wonder if I'm gonna get accepted to St. John's University. And I'm like, you're worried about getting accepted here? Why? I mean, I don't want to say they take anybody, but I mean, they take just about anybody. And that's most schools. Like, I know people freak out, but if your grades are somewhere around where they say, even if they're a little bit lower, you'll probably still get in. I have a lot of questions on financial aid, mostly the best ways to find scholarships and what good college prices are. The best ways to find scholarships, usually the college itself will have scholarships that you can apply to. I know at St. John's they have a scholarship that's specifically for Catholic students, so if you were thinking of St. John's and you're Catholic, that's something you might want to look into. But the colleges themselves will have scholarships that you can apply to as freshmen, as, you know, sophomores, as transfers. They'll have those type of scholarships. The College Board? Is it the College Board? Yeah, I believe the College Board, which is also the company that does like the SATs, they have scholarships on there that are good for you to apply to, so I'll have that link down below. There was another website that I used to use when I was looking for scholarships, and I went back to look for it and I couldn't find it. So I don't know if it doesn't exist anymore, if they changed its name. I believe it was called College Prowler. I want to say that's what it was called, but I can't find it when I type it into Google. Every time I type it in, some website that does have scholarships called niche.com is what pops up. So I don't know if it changed to that, but that was another good one to apply for scholarships. So I'll leave those down below. And any other website that is credible, okay, because you can't trust everything that you see online that says like we offer college scholarships. You have to make sure that they're, you know, like accredited website to be sending your information into. Any of those that I can find, I will link in the description box down below. How to make friends, any tips and tricks to finessing the system, ways to save money on expenses and shoes, clothes, makeup, brushes, weaves, study tips. How to make friends. in college, sometimes it'll still be like high school where there'll be like icebreakers and group projects. So, you know, making friends, and usually in college, even though you don't have assigned seating, people usually sit in the same seats in college as well. So, you know, getting to know the people who you sit next to or who were in your group projects or in icebreakers is a great way to make friends in school. One of my bestest friends now, I met her because she was sitting next to me in one of my classes. Joining clubs or sororities or fraternities, even though I didn't join those, so I can't give you advice on sororities or fraternities, but that's one way to make friends. I did join quite a few clubs while I was in college, so I made friends that way. Volunteering, that is another way for you to make friends on campus. Your roommates, again, if you can make that click, that is a great way to make friends. And as far as like making them, like I said earlier, just go up and talk to people. Usually, if they're not rude, and if they are, then they're not people that you want to be friends with anyways. But if you just go up to someone and start a conversation, they'll usually have a conversation back with you. I've been, you know, waiting for my food and I've had people come start conversations. I've been in the library and I've had people come start conversations. Just put yourself out there. You know, you will get a rude response every now and then. You know, you might say hi to someone and they might just keep it pushing. It's okay though, because that'll come back to them later on in life when they want to talk to someone and that person ignores them. But don't be afraid to meet people. Don't be afraid to get to know people. And they don't have to be the type of people that you're used to hanging out with. You know, if you are cookie cutter, you know, I read books and that's all I do, don't be afraid to talk to the person who is wearing a rock and roll t-shirt and has pink hair, because that person might introduce you to things that you didn't know that you were interested in. Good things, you know, legal things. You guys might learn that you click on things that you didn't think you would click on. You know, if you only listen to Taylor Swift, don't be afraid to talk to the guy who was blasting J. Cole. So that's another way for you to put yourself out there. Like, take yourself out of your bubble. You know, if you're at a diverse school, you went there for a reason, so diversify yourself. Oh, they also said ways to save money on expenses, shoes, clothes, makeup, whatever. I used to give myself like a budget of how much money I could spend on just stuff that I wanted to spend. So I gave myself a budget of $100 a month. So that $100 had to last me on any clothes that I wanted, shoes, makeup, all that other stuff. Because you want to save your money when you're in college, okay? You don't have the money to just be, you know, free, or maybe you do, but most college students do not, and they're working their butts off. So I would say to give yourself spending money every month, and you know, if you blow through it and you don't have any other money, you're just gonna have to wait till the next month to get that pair of shoes, sis, because it catches up to you real quick. And when you're sitting there with, once again, at the end of the semester with no money and no food, and your meal points are out, you know, your advice on dating and dealing with guys who aren't looking for a relationship but still want all the same benefits. That's not how it works, sis, okay? You can't not be looking for a relationship but want to be treated like we're in a relationship. It's one or the other, okay? Pick one. Now, I'm all for casual dating, not myself, but if you want to do that, then go ahead. But you both need to be on the same mindset here of we're just casually dating, okay? It's not you're casually dating and I'm thinking that we're in a relationship, so you need to, you know, make that known from the get-go. Just the same way with the roommate, how you need to let them know, like, you're not about to be messy, like, you're not about to be using my stuff. You need to let him know, we're not about to be on some I treat you like my boyfriend but you treat me like I'm just another number in your phone. Stop doing wifey things for guys who can't even text you back within a week. But if casual dating is what you want to do, then do casual dating. It doesn't make you a hoe, just like it doesn't make them a hoe when they do it either. But just make sure that you're not playing with anyone's feelings and no one is playing with your feelings. And another thing with, you know, dating in college, make sure you're safe. Like I said, make sure someone always knows where you are. If you are going out on a date with someone for the first time, make sure your friends have that person's phone number too. Make sure your friends know, like, this is the restaurant that you're going to. If you feel that you are unsafe, call an Uber, call a friend, call your parents. All right, that's a thing that I want to stress in this video. If you are in a situation, whether it's dating, whether you went to a party and things went left, whatever it is and you're uncomfortable, call your parents if you can, okay? You know, whatever might happen after that, like the lectures that you might have to hear from your parents after on, but I guarantee you, your parents would much rather have to give you some lecture on why this isn't the best thing, and you're gonna wanna listen to that lecture, than not be alive. Okay, your parents would much rather have you safe. They would much rather, you know, have to drive the hour to go get you from that party than to have to plan your funeral. And I'm sure you would much rather have to listen to them say, you know, that was irresponsible, don't ever do that again, than to be 6 feet under. Okay, so be safe while you're out there. Be safe, you know, sexually, use protection, all that other stuff. I don't want to be anyone's mama here, but I'm a low-key be your mama. Be safe in everything that you're doing, and be happy. You know, don't put yourself in situations that you're not happy in, because that will then start to affect how you're doing in school. And depending on some of these schools, you're paying too much to let a boy who is trying to ruin you literally ruin you and your education and your career, okay? Will changing my major impact my graduation date? It could. I do have a friend, actually on Monday, she starts her last year in college. She has changed her major. She's changed her major 4 times while she was in college, but yet she is graduating on time. But see, she changed her major to things that are kind of like similar to each other. So in my case, you know, if I started out with a PR degree, but I wanted to switch to marketing, I've already taken some classes as a PR student that you would need to take as a marketing student, so those will easily transfer over. But if you're a communications major and you want to transfer over as a biology major, a lot of those credits will not transfer over, and then you're going to have to be there longer for a longer period of time. So before you make any decisions on transferring whatever, look at the major that you want to transfer to, look at the major that you already have, see what classes are required under the major that you want to switch to, see if you've taken any of them, and if you haven't, it's probably going to take you a little bit longer to graduate. Nowadays, they say it takes people like 4.5, 5, 6 years to graduate from 4-year schools, because a lot of people switch their majors. A lot of things do not transfer over. So yeah, there's a possibility that you could graduate on time. She is going to graduate on time, even though she's changed her major 4 different times, but there's also a possibility that you could not graduate on time. A lot of things do not transfer over. So yeah, there's a possibility that you could graduate on time. She is going to graduate on time, even though she's changed her major 4 different times, but there's also a possibility that you could not graduate on time. Any advice to when applying for scholarships and making resumes competitive? Advice for scholarships: this is the time for you to not be ashamed of being different. Actually, don't ever be ashamed of being different, but this time, you know, if you fit into certain categories, you know, you're a female, you're black, you're Latino, you're gay, they have very specific, you're Native American, they have very specific scholarships for you. Use them, okay? Apply for them. They have very weird scholarships, so if you're a creative person, I remember one time there was a duct tape prom dress scholarship, so the person that made the best type of duct tape prom dress and actually went to prom like that, they got a scholarship off that. If you're creative, use that to your ability. Search out, you know, Latino scholarships, like search out NAACP scholarships, search out LGBT scholarships. There are very specific scholarships out there. If you are going into biology, they have biology scholarships. You know, like dissect yourself and things that you can do and things that you're capable of providing, and just literally search that into Google. You know, search. I've seen scholarships for hair, people who do hair, technology scholarships. Get very specific when searching, because you'd be surprised what people are willing to donate to and give money to out here. Also, I think the second part of that said a competitive resume. I actually had to give a presentation when I was in college on how to write a resume. So at the very end of this video, you know, like after I say bye-bye and my outro plays, at the very end, I'm gonna have that presentation play on how to write a resume. Write your resume exactly like that, okay? Like the whole contact education, employment, activities, skill. That's exactly how your resume should look, okay? I even had the professor tell me after I did this presentation that I should probably go to the career service area of the school and give them that presentation, because that was one of the nicest ones she's seen on how to write a resume. And that's literally like my resume. That's my actual resume. I had to block a couple things out because, you know, it's the internet. But that's literally what my resume looked like when I was still sending it out to people. So that's what your resume should look like, and I give you tips there on how to write your resume, how to format your resume, you know, 1-inch margins, headings should all be the same. You can add a little bit of color depending on what, you know, type of degree or career you're going into. Me, public relations, that requires that you be more, you know, creative, so that's why like my resume is blue. But if you're going into like science and stuff like that, keep it a buck, all right? Just, you know, black ink, that's it. No cute little pictures, designs. Your resume should only be one picture, but all of that will be shown at the end of this video. Someone said commuting, and my battery's dying. As far as commuting goes, you need to plan your school life around your commute. If you know you can't make it out to campus by 7:30 in the morning, don't take 7:30 classes. Try to plan your classes around each other so you don't have 5-hour gaps in between, because unlike kids who live on campus who have 5-hour gaps in between classes and can go sleep, they can go chill in their room, you can't do that, especially like in the winter. At least in the fall, you can, like, you know, chill outside, sit on the great lawn, sit in the whatever. You can't do that in the winter because it's snowing and blah 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 blah. So then you really only have like the library, and then the library gets very packed. So, you know, try to plan your classes to where, you know, you have one class and then you got to go right to the next class, and you have to go right to the next class, and then you can go home for the day. As far as making friends as a commuter, if you do get stuck, because sometimes you don't have an option with just the way the classes are offered and the classes you have to take, if you do have gaps in between, find something to do in between. You know, join a club. I keep saying join a club, but join a club that has meetings in between that break, so you're not just sitting around doing nothing, you know, staring at the wall. Go to the gym. Bring gym clothes with you so you can go to the gym in between your classes. If you have to work, you know, see if you can get your work schedule somewhere in between working as well. Or you can go to the library in between that break and get work out of the way, like actual schoolwork. Get that schoolwork out of the way so that you don't have to worry about it when you go home. I know I got this question, and I'm not sure if I actually like kind of covered it before, but I can't find the question right now. But as far as scheduling your classes, like how to do it, once you finally settle in, you make it. My battery's really gonna die. Once you settle in and you make it to the college, you know, your financial aid is good, you've been accepted, all that other stuff, the very next thing you should do is find your like fake transcript and see what classes you have to take. Because usually the schools will have it on their online portal, whatever. You know, you're a PR student, you have to take this many PR classes, you have to take this many theology classes, you have to take this communications class, you have to take this advertising class, and start telling yourself, okay, well, do I want to take this class first? Do I want to take that class first? Usually as a freshman, the advisors will make that schedule for you-ish, kind of. They'll tell you like what you should start out with. Don't always listen to them, because, you know, I told that story on how that went for me. I'll also have that linked here. But take their advice, but also use your own common sense. If they tell you, you know, only take 14 credits, but you know you can handle like 16, then take the 16. Yeah, you can take 16 because I was taking like 18. Also tell yourself, like, get the classes that you need out of the way. I was a senior in college taking Speech 101 as a senior, and people were looking at me like, why would you take Speech 101, which is mostly like freshmen taking that, as a senior? And I was like, listen to yourself. It's a entry class that I'm taking as a senior, which means it's an easy A for me, okay? I got all my hard classes out of the way, and now I'm sitting back, I'm not even paying attention to what this teacher's saying, because it's literally Speech 101. So it's like, how involved do I have to be here? That was an easy A for me, you know, like intro to math or intro to communications. I left all of that until my last semester of college. And my last semester of college was very easy for me. Now, You know, sometimes there are classes that you have to take before you can take other classes, so obviously get those out of the way so you can take the other classes. But if there are classes that have no prior requirements that you know you need to graduate, get those out of the way first, because then when you're a junior and you're a senior in college, you'll have more time for classes that you want to take, like electives that you want to take. You'll have time for entry classes that, you know, won't require you do much work, and then you won't be stressing that much before you graduate from college. But know your transcript, like in and out. No, I need this many credits, I need this many classes, I need this, I need that. You should be able to read your transcript yourself, because that's all you have is yourself, okay? The school is not going to tell you, you know, you need to do this, you need to do that, you need to do that. The school wants to keep you there as long as possible, because the longer you're there, the more you have to pay tuition, okay? So it's up to you to know how to read your transcript. If you have any questions on how to read your transcript, or really questions on anything, like specific admissions questions, specific financial aid questions, leave down below, because I did tell you guys I worked in admissions when I was in college. Let's see, my battery is dying, so I want to see any other questions I didn't really kind of cover that I can get out of the way. Someone said loans. If you unfortunately have to take out loans, know the type of loans that you are taking out. You know, is it a loan that you'll have to pay while you're still kind of in school, or your parents will kind of have to pay like as you're in school? Is it a loan that you'll have to start paying, you know, after 6 months of you graduating? Only take out as much as you need. Just because the school says, you know, take out $12,000 doesn't mean you take out $12,000. If you only need $6,000 from that $12,000, only take that $6,000, because then what are you paying back the whole $12,000 for if you only needed $6,000? Yeah, it'll feel nice, you know, when you have it. If you take out $12,000 and the school only takes $6,000 from you, you're like, hey, I've got $6,000, dippity doo dah. But then when it comes time to pay that $12,000 back plus interest, you're gonna be like, damn, did I really need that car when I lived on campus and my ass didn't go anywhere? So, you know, look into that with your loans. Like I said, look into the type of loans that you're taking. If your parents are taking out loans for you as well, make sure that they look into the interest that they're taking out. If you can just keep it to the type of government loans, like Stafford loans, that's great, because once you start getting into these, you know, like Sallie Mae and whatever type of loans, like then like life is really gonna be hard after that. Luckily, I didn't have to do any of that. I just took out like a Stafford loan, which I am pretty close to paying off at this point. But yeah, because the interest that you'll be paying on like government loans and the interest that you'll be paying on like these private company loans like Sallie Mae is ridiculous. When I say they will come for your head, and they will not leave you alone either. Oh, another thing is that your financial aid might change throughout the year. That's something to keep in mind as well. So you have to also, not only do you have to know how to read your transcript, you have to know how to read your financial aid reward as well, because there might be certain stipulations on your financial aid. They might give you this $20,000 scholarship, but you have to maintain a 3.2 GPA to keep it. You know, you might have something one semester that you don't have the next semester, and that might, you know, you might get more money in your refund from the school, or you might owe the money, you might owe the school money from your financial aid. So you have to know how to read your financial aid reward. You have to know what everything means, the difference between scholarships and grants. Scholarships might have requirements. You know, you have to stay a biology major to keep this scholarship, but what happens if you want to change to a communications major? That might be a problem. You might lose your scholarship. But grants, usually once you get a grant, like that's it, it's just your grant. You have to be able to tell the difference between, you know, things that you have to pay back and things that you don't have to pay back. Usually scholarships, grants, in New York case, TAP, those are all things that you do not have to pay back. Loans obviously are things that you have to pay back. Okay, so as expected, my camera died and I only have about time for 2 more questions, so let's just get into this. I'd appreciate it if you stress things about mental health and changing your major if you don't like it, dropping classes you don't like, and getting help if you need it. Everything that person said was just important. Every last thing. Your mental health is extremely important in life, and it will get tested while you're in college, okay? I said I had about 90,000 breakdowns when I was in college. So if you feel that your mental health is being tested, take a step back, realizing what's causing it, and realize how you can fix it, okay? I know I said what I said about changing your major, and it might cause you to not graduate on time, but would you rather graduate on time with a major that you don't like the career you'd have to go into, just so you don't have to spend like another year in college? Or would you rather just change your major, spend that extra year in college, and go on to live your happy life with whatever major you choose to do? It is worth it. Do not continue on with a major that is stressing you out, that is not for you, that you don't want to do simply because you want to graduate on time, or because you think this type of career is what's going to get you money, or it's going to get you whatever. At the end of the day, it's about you being happy. So if you want to change your major, change your major. Look at my friend. I said she changed her major 4 times, and one of those times was to go back to a major she had already changed, and she's still graduating on time, and she's happy. Dropping classes you don't like. If you don't like a class, it's much better for you to withdraw from that class than for you to stay in that class and fail that class because you don't like it, or because you're not doing well in it. One will affect your GPA, the other will not. I'm sure you can figure out which one is which. And getting help if you need it. Oh my God. If you take nothing else from this video, get help if you need it as soon as you need it, okay? As soon as the professor teaches something that you don't understand, ask for help, okay? Because I said in the video on the, college professor nightmare, it's much easier if you start out with a high GPA and, it kind of trickles down a little bit because you start slacking off, than to just start out with a miserable GPA and try to build it up, okay? I had a high GPA. That's why when I got that C+, my GPA didn't plummet to a 1.2. But if you're starting out with a 1.2, it's going to take you a whole lot of A's to build your GPA up to a 2.5. Not even a 2.5. You might build it up to like a 2.0 if you're starting out with a 1.2. So you can avoid all of that by just getting help as soon as you realize you don't understand what's going on. Because if you wait 3 months later to tell the professor, I don't understand what's going on in this class, there's not even that much time to help you understand what's going on. And usually professors, they really won't care that much to help you 3 months later, because the professor won't see it as you're really confused and you don't understand what's going on. The professor's going to see it as, oh, now you see that you're probably going to fail this class and you're just trying to, beg for extra credit, or you're trying to, salvage as much as you can. So professors really will just kind of like, oh, well, you can go to the tutor center, or you can do this or whatever. Get help as soon as you need it, because then if you do ask for help, you can see, okay, well, maybe I just wasn't understanding it, but once it was explained to me this way, I get it now. Or you can see, this really is just not for me, and it's probably best that I just don't take this class. Someone said studying tips. As far as studying goes, I feel like you have to know what type of learner that you are. There are visual learners, and then there are oral learners. I don't really know which one I am. I feel like I'm kind of both, because I can have it where, when I'm taking a test, I can like hear the professor and hear what the professor said during class, and I can remember, oh, Professor X said A plus B equals C. However, at the same time, like depending on what it is, I can also like see whatever the professor wrote down. I can see the PowerPoints, I can see my notes. Like, I guess my brain takes like mental pictures of it, and I can like visually see, I wrote down A plus B equals C. So I feel like you need to know which one you are. Sometimes you are both. Sometimes you're one or the other. So if you're a oral learner, I would suggest saying your notes out loud to yourself, saying over and over and over to yourself, A plus B equals C, A plus B equals C, A plus B equals C. It'll stick into your brain, and when you're taking the test, you'll hear yourself saying it to yourself. Another thing for oral learners, you have to get like the professor's permission, but you can ask your professor, can I record you, during class? So then when I'm studying, I'll have your voice to listen to on how you teach it. Some professors will be cool and say that's fine. Some will not. It is what it is. But that's another tip when it comes to studying if you're an oral learner. As far as visual learners, I would suggest writing your notes more than once, like rewriting them, you know, writing them when you're in class and then rewriting them when you get home, or making flashcards so you can write it that way. There have been many times where I can visually see the flashcards that I wrote down. I know some people have to have their notes written like in very specific ways, so they'll just, you know, jot everything down, because the way those professors and those PowerPoints move in class, you don't have time to be doing like all this type of specific stuff, whatever. But if you write down your notes in class, then when you get home, you start, you know, like organizing your notes, so you have like headers and you have sections and you have all that other stuff. That is also something that helps for visual learners, but really just like rewriting your notes as a visual learner helps you as well. Not waiting until the day before the final or the test is another studying tip. You know, like give yourself time ahead of time to study. Give yourself, you know, I'm going to study for this test that I have on Friday 1 hour every week this week. If you are someone who waits until the last day to study, give yourself breaks in between. I believe they said you can't study for more than an hour or two, I believe. I don't even know if it's an hour. I think they say like you can't withhold any of the information that you take in after like 20 minutes. I don't know, I feel like 20 minutes is a stretch for me, but I know for myself, like after an hour, my brain is not retaining anything that I'm reading anymore. So I would study for an hour, you know, take like a 2-hour break, and then come back in another 2 hours and study again for another hour. Give yourself breaks, give your brain time to take in the information that you just read. And anything else for studying, sometimes it's great to have, you know, friends question you, say, you know, like, you know, what is A plus B? And then you say C. Like that's another way to study as well. Okay, so that is pretty much it for this video. Once again, my battery is dying again, so I'm just gonna cut it short here. But my snaps are always open, my tweets are always open. You know, you can ask any questions down below. I will answer it, or, you know, someone else watching who has an answer will answer that as well. But I hope this video was helpful to anyone in high school who is looking into college and stuff like that. I hope this video was helpful to anyone who is starting college or already in college. I wish you all a very prosperous and, you know, successful school year, and just school in general. I hope you all have a great year. Thank you all for watching. Make sure to thumbs up, comment, and subscribe down below. That how to write a resume will be up right after this, and I will see you all in the next one. Bye!